The King's Son and the Ogress, Part 3. The fisherman looked into the water and was astonished to see therein fish of 4 colors, white and red and blue and yellow. Then he took out his net and cast, and, drawing it in, found in it 4 fish, one of each color. At this he rejoiced, and the Afrit said to him, "Carry them to the Sultan and present them to him, and he will give thee what shall enrich thee. And accept my excuse, for I know not any other way to fulfill my promise to thee, having lain in yonder sea 1800 years, and never seen the surface of the earth till this time. But do not fish here more than once a day, and I commend thee to God's care." So saying, he struck the earth with his foot, and it opened and swallowed him up, whilst the fisherman returned, wondering at all that had befallen him, to his house, where he took a bowl of water and laid therein the fish, which began to frisk about. Then he set the bowl on his head, and going up to the palace, as the Afrit had bidden him, presented the fish to the king, who wondered at them greatly, for that he had never seen their like, in shape or kind, and said to his vizier, "Give these fish to the cookmaid that the king of the Greeks sent us, and tell her to fry them." Now this was a damsel that he had received as a present from the king of the Greeks 3 days before, and of whom he had not yet made trial in cookery. So the vizier carried the fish to the cookmaid, and said to her, "These fish have been brought as a present to the Sultan, and he says to thee, 'O my tear, I have reserved thee against my stress, so do thou show us today thy skill and the excellence of thy cookery.'" Then he returned to the Sultan, who bade him give the fisherman 400 dinars. So he gave them to him, and he took the money in his lap and set off home, running and stumbling and falling and rising again, and thinking that he was dreaming. And he bought what was needful for his family, and returned to his wife, glad and happy. Meanwhile, the cookmaid took the fish and cleaned them, and set the frying pan on the fire. Then she poured in oil of sesame, and waited till it was hot, when she put in the fish. As soon as one side was done, she turned them, when lo, the wall of the kitchen opened, and out came a handsome and well-shaped young lady with smooth cheeks and liquid black eyes. She was clad in a tunic of satin, barded with spangles of Egyptian gold, and on her head she had a silken kerchief, fringed with blue. She wore rings in her ears and bracelets on her wrists, and rings on her fingers with bezels of precious stones, and held in her hand a rod of Indian cane. She came up to the brazier and thrust the rod into the frying pan, saying, "O fish, are you constant to your covenant?" And when the cookmaid heard this, she swooned away. Then the damsel repeated her question a second and a third time, and the fish lifted up their heads and cried out with one voice, "Yes, yes! Return and we return. Keep faith and so will we. Or if thou wilt, forsake, and we'll do like to thee." With this, the damsel overturned the frying pan, and went out by the way she had come, and the wall closed up again as before. Presently, the cookmaid came to herself, and seeing the 4 fish burnt black as coal, said, "My arms are broken in my first skirmish," and fell down again in a swoon. Whilst she was in this state, in came the vizier to seek the fish, and found her insensible, not knowing Saturday from Thursday. So he stirred her with his foot, and she came to herself, and wept, and told him what had passed. He marveled, and said, "This is indeed a strange thing." Then he sent for the fisherman, and said to him, "Hark ye, sirrah, whence had thou these fish?" "From a lake between 4 hills." answered he, "on the thither side of the mountain behind the city." "How many days' journey hence?" asked the king. And the fisherman said, "O my lord Sultan, hath an hour's journey." At this the king was astonished, and ordering the troops to mount, set out at once, followed by his suite and preceded by the fisherman, who began to curse the Afrit. They rode on over the mountain and descended into a wide plain that they had never before set eyes on, whereat they were all amazed. Then they fared on till they came to the lake lying between the 4 hills, and saw the fish therein of 4 colors, red and white and yellow and blue. The king stood and wondered, and said to his attendants, "Has any one of you ever seen this lake before?" But they answered, "Never did we set eyes on it in all our lives, O king of the age." Then he questioned those stricken in years, and they made him the same answer. Quoth he, "By Allah, I will not return to my capital, nor sit down on my chair of estate, till I know the secret of this pond and its fish." Then he ordered his people to encamp at the foot of the hills, and called his vizier, who was a man of learning and experience, sagacious and skillful in business, and said to him, "I mean to go forth alone tonight, and inquire into the matter of the lake and these fish. Wherefore, do thou sit down at the door of my pavilion, and tell the emirs and viziers and chamberlains and officers and all who ask after me that the Sultan is ailing, and hath ordered thee to admit no one, and do thou acquaint none with my purpose." The vizier dared not oppose his design, so the king disguised himself and girt on his sword, and going forth privily, took a path that led over one of the hills, and fared on all that night and the next day, till the heat overcame him, and he paused to rest. Then he set out again, and fared on the rest of that day and all the next night, till on the morning of the 2nd day he caught sight of some black thing in the distance, whereat he rejoiced and said, "Belike I shall find someone who can tell me the secret of the lake and the fish." So he walked on till he came to the black object, when he found it a palace built of black stone, plated with iron, and one leaf of its gate was open and the other shut. At this the king rejoiced, and went up to the gate and knocked lightly, but heard no answer. So he knocked a 2nd time and a 3rd time, with the same result. Then he knocked loudly, but still no one answered, and he said to himself, "It must be deserted." So he took courage, and entering the vestibule cried out, "Ho, people of the palace! I am a stranger and a wayfarer, and hungry. Have ye any victual?" He repeated these words a 2nd and a 3rd time, but none answered. So he took heart and went on boldly into the interior of the palace, which he found hung and furnished with silken stuffs, embroidered with stars of gold, and curtains let down before the doors. In the midst was a spacious courtyard with 4 estrades, one on each side, and a bench of stone. Midmost the courtyard was a great basin of water, from which sprang a fountain, and at the corners stood 4 lions of red gold, spouting forth water as it were pearls and jewels, and the place was full of birds, which were hindered from flying away by a network of gold stretched overhead. The king looked right and left, but there was no one to be seen, whereat he marveled, and was vexed to find none of whom he might inquire concerning the lake and the fish and the palace itself. So he returned to the vestibule, and sitting down between the doors, fell to musing upon what he had seen, when lo, he heard a moaning that came from a sorrowful heart, and a voice chanted the following verses: "I hid what I endured from thee, it came to light, and sleep was changed to wake thenceforward to my sight. O fate, thou sparest not, nor dost desist from me. Lo, for my heart is racked with dolour and affright. Have pity, lady mine, upon the great laid low. upon the rich made poor by love and its despite. Once, jealous of the breeze that blew on thee I was. Alas, on whom fate falls, his eyes are veiled with night. What boots the archer's skill, if when the enemy draws near, his bowstrings snap and leave him helpless in the fight? So when afflictions press upon the noble mind, where shall a man from fate and destiny take flight? When the king heard this, he rose and followed the sound, and found that it came from behind a curtain let down before the doorway of a sitting chamber. So he raised the curtain and saw a young man seated on a couch raised a cubit from the ground. He was a handsome, well-shaped youth, with flower-white forehead and rosy cheeks, and a black mole like a grain of ambergris on the table of his cheek, as says the poet. The slender one, from his brow and the night of his jetty hair, the world in alternate gloom and splendor of day fair. Blame not the mole on his cheek, is an anemone's cup perfect, except in its midst an islet of black it wear. He was clad in a robe of silk, laced with Egyptian gold, and had on his head a crown set with jewels, but his face bore traces of affliction. The king rejoiced when he saw him and saluted him, and the youth returned his salute in the most courteous wise, though he without rising, and said to him, "O my lord Sultan, excuse me if I do not rise to thee as is thy due. Indeed, I am unable to do so." "I hold thee excused, O youth," said the king. "I am your guest, and come to you on a pressing errand, beseeching you to expound to me the mystery of the lake, and the fish, and this palace, and why thou sittest here alone and weeping." When the young man heard this, the tears ran down his cheeks, and he wept sore till his breast was drenched, and repeated the following verses. "Say to those that grieve, at whom does fate her arrows cast? Lo, how many a one hath she raised up but to lay low at last? Lo, if ye sleep, the eye of God is never closed in sleep. For whom indeed is life serene, for whom is fortune fast?" Then he gave a heavy sigh and repeated the following. "Trust thy affair to the ruler of all that be, and put thought-taking and trouble away from thee. Say not of aught that is past, how came it so? All things depend on the divine decree." The king marveled and said to him, "What makes thee weep, O youth?" "How should I not weep, being in such a plight?" Then he put out his hand and lifted the skirt of his robe, and behold, he was stone from the waist downward. When the king saw this condition, he grieved sore and lamented and cried out, "Alas, alas!" and said, "Verily, O youth, you add trouble to my trouble. I came to inquire concerning the fish, and now I am concerned to know your history also. But there is no power and no virtue save in God the Most High, the Supreme. Hasten, therefore, O youth, and expound to me thy story." Quoth the youth, "Give me thine ears and understanding." And the king replied, "I am all attention." Then the youth said, "There hangs a strange story by these fish and by myself, a story which, were it graven with needles on the corners of the eye, would serve as a warning to those who can profit by example." "How so?" asked the king, and the youth replied, "Know, O my lord, that there,